Hi everyone and welcome back to a new video with me Shruti. This video is going to be about the resurgence of the goddess. Now before I start the video, I want to say that when people hear the word goddess, they think that it's going to be about the empowerment of women. But it's not about women only. This speaks to the feminine principle within us and how creation flows through us. And what's happening now, in our ascension is that we are really becoming empowered within this feminine force. And so you can also think of this video, as an ascension update, because this is what's going on. And what I found was, over the past 1 week especially, we've been going through this intense rebirth energy because Mars is also in Scorpio. And at least for me, I have like a lot of planets in the energy of Scorpio. And it's just, I've been feeling this rebirth, within everything. It's kind of like things from our past are coming up, going back to even early childhood. And what I found was happening now is that there's so many different aspects that are coming up, whether it's concerning our sexuality or, control and domination kind of roles that we play within relationships, our sense of security, and just all of it. So, this is natural. This happens when a new wave of power is ignited within us. Because whenever power frequencies are ignited within us, then we really need to embrace all of ourselves. So everything that is kind of still a little bit unresolved, not in a way that you have to heal, but in a sense that you didn't yet claim it in a way that you can use it in the world. So wherever we kind of haven't done that, this was coming up for us. And what's really exciting is that, how we were empowering ourselves recently is through our interactions with other beings with whom we were exchanging these galactic soul codes. And what this means is that, on our ascension process, we merge with the different levels. So then first we open up with the higher heart. And then there's the soul level, and then after the soul level, there's other higher levels, the higher self, the I am presence. So for volunteer souls, most especially, we didn't only, some of us, not everybody, depends on your soul codes, but our core frequency for some of us is not even, within this universe. We might have had lives on the other planets, but it goes beyond that. And so the souls that we meet, will be the souls that we know from these different aspects, these different realms. And when we run into someone, and it was a soul contract, then a lot of stuff can come up. But also, a lot of the new is birthed. So what happened with me was, I'm giving birth to this new aspect of myself, this galactic aspect that has the Lyran energy. And over the past few months, Spirit has been dropping hints, but I didn't really fully recognize what this was, until I saw a post that was made by someone, and they have the Lyran energy. And when I saw that, then everything just came together somehow for me. So I was guided to reach out to them, and when I did, when we just had like a small interaction, just an exchange of, I think, 2 emails. But even within that, there was this mirroring that was going on. And this is how that you have like a soul contract, or that you were contracted with someone. And these are like higher contracts, not karmic contracts. And when we speak about soul contracts, most people think about twin flames, and but everything is not about that. Like I said, you will be integrating with different levels of yourself, and as you do so, then you might meet souls that kind of mirror that aspect of you. And recently I've been meeting these power souls, a few of them. But anyway, what I was saying was that when we come into contact with each other, and there's this exchange of, these galactic exchange of codes that happens, and when this happens, also it speaks to what's going on at a higher level, within our galactic lineages, because within the universe, all of these different planets and star systems, they also went through their own process, and they also were healing a lot. So the polarity mirroring that's going on when we come into contact with each other, it's representative of how the ascension process is not just happening on this planet, on Earth, which is like a melting pot, but also the universe. So what I found was coming up, within this mirroring was the areas where we still hold some sort of control dynamic. So it's like we don't trust life fully in that particular aspect, and so we feel like we still need to play some kind of a role. So it was being shown to us that now you can release this role, it's no longer needed. And for volunteer souls, especially when you are devoted to the ascension path and you are actually doing the inner work, then it's not really so much about healing, because I find that when these intense integrations happen and things come up, we can wonder, we can think to ourselves that wow, I have so much baggage, and from my childhood, from my past. But it's important to know that it's not about this, because you don't really have so much to heal, and these things, they come up just so that it can be mirrored to you, this new essence that is igniting within you, that you can work with. Because even for me, like I found when I was interacting with this being, the way that the energy came through, and it was reminiscent of like a series of previous relationships that I'd had, and just the dynamics within them going back to my childhood. And so when that came up, then I felt this triggering within me. So it's easy. What I was trying to say is that it's easy in that space, to get into that raw place and think, wow, I still haven't healed this. But that's not what it is, because for example, on my ascension path now, it's not really about healing anymore or integrating, but it's just that things will come up so that they can show you what you can expand in. And because maybe you hold this power within you, and maybe you've even integrated it at a higher level, but you didn't even use it enough in the world. Like for example, you are scared to express yourself just as you are. And this was happening, this was being mirrored to me as well, because I found that over the past 1 month, I met these different men, and just when I expressed myself fully in my power and in my authenticity, then I found how it triggered something within them, and some of them even lashed out at me, but I'll go into this later. But it's important to know that in a higher if we are choosing a higher reality, then this is not the case anymore. Because when we fully express ourselves as women, for instance, as empowered women, and let's say you don't get the response back that is harmonious, and men are triggered by you, then these feelings can come up of abandonment, and you can start to question yourself, that was I too strong, or do I need to be softer, so this is what we're letting go of. This is what Spirit is showing me, that last year, for instance, we already went through I remember that this time last year we were going through these initiations also, related to our power, but they were more about coming into our own frequency and kind of recognizing what is my frequency versus what is yours, and how to not allow it to intermingle in such a way that it's not within the frequency of co-creation, and rather it has to do with the dynamics of control and manipulation. so we were transcending that last year, and kind of I remember that we were parting ways with some people and coming into new friendships. But this year, because every year and every ascension wave, we activate a new level of light on the planet, because the planet activates a new level of light. So for you, within a human body, as a master, you also have this potential then, to step up and to embrace the highest level. And so what we are embracing now is that we might already have known what we are, and our power, and maybe we even integrated these higher levels of power, but there wasn't so much of using it out in the world, and expressing it freely, in our interactions, whether they're through partnerships, whether it's out in the world, in our sharing, for example. So each of these initiations where something comes up and is mirrored to you is not so much about healing as it is about just knowing that you have the freedom, and the freedom to express your truth, to express yourself as you are, not question yourself, anymore, and just allow, the light of source as it uniquely flows through you, just in the moment, in its power. If it's within love, wisdom, and power, then you just need to express yourself. And what I also found was that before this interaction with this of this galactic exchange that I was speaking about, I also ran into some other men over the past few weeks, and this was leading up to like the power initiations, and those were kind of, you can say, when I expressed myself in my power, they were really triggered, and they didn't choose love, because what happens is that when you hold a certain level of light, and especially as a woman, what I felt was that we're still uncomfortable with seeing a woman in her empowered form, as a goddess, because this hadn't really been activated on the planet. And actually even the masculine has not been empowered either. But you know how it is, like with the gender roles that we have, and just this suppression of the feminine force and not trusting it, that's been active on the planet for so long. So when women really embrace their power, I found that men, when they came into like a more intimate interaction with me, by intimate I don't mean sexual, I just mean like talking one-to-one or some kind of an interaction, then it really triggered something within them, because first they come to you because they see this, that you are this loving being, and they're okay with like the kind of more childlike, magical, or the mother aspect that is nurturing and holds the space of love. But then there's also the third aspect of the feminine, which is the empowered aspect. The color is black, for instance. It's like the void, it's just so powerful and magnetic, and it just draws everything to it. So it has to do with sexual energy, with power, and just holding your own domain, and being discerning, having healthy boundaries. So whenever I expressed myself within the fullness of my femininity in this way, and they got in touch with the more empowered aspect of the feminine, then they got triggered, and they kind of lashed out at me, saying that this is not the real deal, you are not spiritual, and you are too proud, or whatever they had to say in this way. Whereas I just expressed myself, as it is, in my authenticity within divine love. So it's really time now, if you have empowered yourself, and let's say you activated a new level of power, and you express it as it is, and within love, then be okay with the fact that you as a woman, you hold this potential of the feminine, where it's about the cycles of death and rebirth. So you have to be okay with this process of death, and you, as the embodiment of the feminine, you hold this potential for others, as well as yourself. So first, when you embrace it within yourself, being comfortable with it, um, that you hold this potential for others to come into something unknown, because that is what the feminine energy is about, the black, the void, is that we step into something unknown, and there's no rules, that we are familiar with, because the feminine force is like wild, and it only follows the galactic pulse, which means, it's like the natural laws, the forces of nature. 1 minute it's here and the other minute it's flowing there, and it can be very fierce, it can be very loving, as well. So you have to be okay with this within yourself first. And we, in the old, for instance, we had this idea that to express ourselves as we are as women, to flourish as a woman, we need a man. So we need these qualities of protection and being safe and secure, being able to express ourselves freely, and being, wild as well. And we always felt that we needed a man for that, that when the man is here, then we feel secure. And within that safe space within him, with him, we can also be sexually free as well. But as when it comes to self-mastery and ascension, then we need to hold this space for ourselves first. And so all of those qualities that you maybe desired from a man that you didn't get, or when you are triggered like this and feelings of abandonment come up, or just that the man couldn't be there for you, or whatever it is, then look at this quality, and it's something that we need to give to ourselves. So give yourself this acceptance, and this protection that you want. It comes from being completely in the source field and being able to express yourself within freedom, and you create this freedom. Freedom is not created from the external environment. Anything could be happening externally, other people could be doing whatever, but you can still live within freedom because you choose freedom and you create the space with having healthy boundaries, being able to say no when it is required. And when do you need to say no is, again, when you find that the space that you created, you are no longer able to express yourself within freedom because somebody is trying to penetrate it and it's not within love. That's when we need to draw a line and have healthy boundaries as well, and be able to express ourselves within power. So once we, as women, once we become all right with holding this level of power, and not just holding it, but once we express it, then not questioning it, and just fully embracing it and knowing how to use it, cultivating it as well. Because it's only when we allow that the goddess, when she is rising within us, when she holds out her hand and she asks you to dance with her, whether you are male or female, whether it's rising within you or whether it's being mirrored to you through another person who is being a pure channel for it. And when the goddess holds out her hand like this and asks you to dance this wild, untamed dance with her, then it's up to you to make that choice and go within trust, because it's not that you have to know all of the steps of this dance. You don't have to know the dance. That's not where the security lies. The security lies within, the trust lies within, that you will be okay, that you just need to express yourself within freedom, and it'll be calling you. This is how you will know what is the right path, because it'll be magnetizing you, it'll be pulling you in a certain direction, and you don't even know why. It's like this really raw force, So when we just allow it to come up, whether it is sexual, whether it's powerful, whatever it is, and it will make you very raw and vulnerable. And when you really embrace that, then it can really rise within you. And even when you allow it to rise and it comes in the body, it can feel a bit uncomfortable because it's so powerful. But again, it has to do with how we just open the heart and we just allow it to surface in the way that it wants. And the goddess is flowing through you, and what could be better than that? And you just need to allow her to express herself through you in your purity. So when we do this, great, enormous potential can open up. Because, so for instance, I've been feeling this great sexual energy just rising from within me. And in a way that I haven't expressed it really before. Maybe it was more for myself, but not out in the world. And also, when I was younger, I also So the video cut me off. As I was saying that, when we really allow it expression in its purity without trying to control it and trying to hide away from it, because it'll also bring us those really raw aspects of us that we have to then first face. Then it can really open up like these gems, these hidden treasures that we didn't even know we had. And it can lead to this immense expansion out in the world as well. And that's how abundance flows as well, when we powerfully express ourselves, within freedom. So this is what is happening in our ascension. And I know that, in this video perhaps it feels more like that it's about the empowerment of women, but it's not just that. Because what happens is that in our ascension, if you look at the ascension process, first we open up the higher heart, which is like the heart is the feminine side. And then it's only then that we can open up to the higher mind, which is the masculine aspect. So as women, we are more attuned to this. So that's why it's kind of easier for us to go through this process of opening up of the heart first. And this is why, we find that there's more women who are kind of holding these more empowered frequencies, who are at a more awakened level, you can say. But, still I see that there are some men that, are also really making these choices within empowerment. And so when we meet them and there's this divine mirroring that goes on, then it really leads to this new potential overall, this co-creation, where we can just take it to a new level. Because when men also embrace their empowerment completely, then at that point in our ascension, we can really, really expand in the external as well. Because the male frequency, the masculine frequency is more extroverted. It's about what goes out, it's like the light of the sun. So, but at this point in our ascension, it's more about knowing ourselves, coming into ourselves and holding the potential for others. So it's more of that feminine force. So whether you are male or female, it's up to us whether we embrace this, and whether when we look at the goddess in her purity, if we can just accept it as it is, rather than when we are triggered. It's okay to be triggered, but see it for what it is rather than projecting it. And then the last thing that I want to say also is that when you are activating a new level of power and magnetism within yourself, then then once you start to also apply it in the external, you start to share from it, and just shine your light through it. Sometimes in the beginning it can feel very raw, and perhaps from a human angle, we look at ourselves expressing ourselves, that is not fully within grace yet, and this is okay, because it's kind of like being a child. You are doing something for the first time, so you have to be there for yourself, again, holding space, showing up for yourself, being your own protector. And just like an adult would not judge a child, when the child first starts to walk and falls down, or starts to play, and he's still not fully he still fully doesn't know how to use like his arms and legs, then this is nothing to give up about. It's nothing to laugh about or to be ashamed about, because shame is that main frequency that we are healing now, because shame is actually a very low frequency that really holds us back from even looking at ourselves, in our divinity. So this goddess flow, this goddess power, when it flows through us, it pushes out any shame. And when this shame is being pushed out, sometimes when we express ourselves within this new embodiment, at first, it can be reflected to us. And we need to be there for ourselves and just know that, no matter how I expressed myself, I don't have to be perfect all the time. And, within this lies my perfection. Just expressing myself in the moment, as it was flowing through me naturally. So I hope that this video was helpful, and let me know. And that's about it from me, and I'll see you next time.